Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Quinn Street Project. This is our playwriting lessons. As you know, there are 5 lessons that go with the 5 W's. And today we are on lesson 4. So there's only one more lesson after this. Today's lesson is where in the world does our play take place? But before we do that, we want to go over the other W's that we've already learned, which is who, right? Who are the characters in our play? For that one, we had 2 different stories, one with Miss Tierra and one with Mr. Bryan. So before we do any of that, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Miss Melissa. My pronouns are she and her. And then I will take it over to Miss Tierra. Boom.
Greetings, you all. So glad to be creating again. I'm Miss Tierra. My pronouns are she, her. Passing it over to Mr. Bryan.
Thank you very much. My name is Mr. Bryan. My pronouns are he and him. And I'm excited to be back with you all. So I'm just going to throw it back to somebody, whoever's going to catch it.
Mr. Bryan. Thank you, Mr. Bryan. All right. So, yes, we are very excited to have both Mr. Bryan and Miss Tierra back with us. So we have 2 sets of stories with 2 different characters, and every story you write, you're gonna need the who. And then we also have the what. What is the activity? What are they doing? What do they care about, right? And for today, we are going back to Miss Melissa and Miss Tierra's stories. So that will be really great. But before we do any of that, let's go ahead and do a little grounding. So everybody give me 2 thumbs up and then put them down for 2 thumbs down. Cross those thumbs around each other like this. Yep. And high five those hands and grab them and pull them in. Good. Now take a deep breath in. And you can close your eyes or soften your gaze and let that breath go. Good. Let's take one more deep breath in. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Now go ahead and give yourselves a nice hug or a pat on the back or a nice little massage. And let's do our check-in, which is you're going to give me a thumbs up for I'm feeling awesome, thumbs middle for I'm feeling cool, or a thumbs down for, I've seen better days. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna go this way. I'm in between thumbs middle and thumbs down today. All right, and now one more deep breath. And shake that off, shake that off, shake that off. Excellent. All right. So as I said before, today we are looking at where, and for that we have a really fun activity for you all. And for that activity, I need all eyes on Miss Tierra.
Thank you, Miss Melissa. Yeah, we're going to do an activity called Zooming Through the World. Again, the theme of today is where. So we're going to just do something that lets us use our imagination, get our brains working to think about how different locations can really impact the story that we're telling. So for that, we're going to pull up a map of the world. Everybody maybe do like a drum roll at home. You can just pat your chest if you want. I'll wait for that map of the world to come up. And here it is. So this is, if y'all have never played with Google Maps before, this is Google Maps. And if you haven't played with it before, it's something where you can use it to actually take a physical look at what different parts of the world look like. So we see our map is zooming out, out, out. You can zoom really, really far out to get a look of the Earth from space and go kind of anywhere. Like actually, if the map could turn, just kind of to show the globe. Zooming out, zooming out. See, we got up there. We're up there in the Arctic now. Oop, we're looking at Europe. We're looking at Africa. We're looking at Asia. Absolutely. We're looking at oceans. There's Australia there. Ooh, ooh, ooh. About to cross the Pacific Ocean. That's a big one. Ooh, ooh, ooh. There's a lot of little islands in the Pacific Ocean as well. And you know what? Ooh, beautiful. You can even, yeah, you can zoom on in. There's Hawaii. And let's just do an activity now where we look at different spots in the world. And, you know, we can start far away, but I kind of want to, ooh, Pacific remote islands. If there's a spot on the map that you want to click and look deeper in, you can. And actually, let's go back to that spot that we're on here. So we're in kind of a world global view. And then if you click on a particular location, it'll usually bring up pictures. And so this location, what does it say? It's the Pacific Remote Islands, it's Marine National Monument. I have never been here. Mr. Bryan or Miss Melissa, have you ever been here?
No.
No, it looks beautiful.
It does. And just looking at that picture and thinking about geography and how where can impact our setting, my imagination just started to go around, whoa, what would it be like to write a play that was set underwater at that space? I was seeing those beautiful underwater creatures. And you know, the specific fish and plants and maybe even the temperature of the water, all that would be different there from another place. So it would make our story unique. Where else do we want to go and take a look?
Yeah, the way people move and fish move and maybe machines move underwater would be very cool, very dance-like.
Whoa.
Oh.
So it looks like now we're in Polynesian islands. And just imagine if you were writing a story that took place here. What kind of characters would be part of this? What kinds of actions might they be taking here? Would it be fishing? Would it be, you know, I could imagine, you know, two characters, maybe one saying, I want to go outside and, you know, take a swim, and another being like, no, I really want to go inside and play video games. And, you know, maybe that's the thing that they have to deal with. Oh,
Right.
so
It would be
beautiful. I've never
really
been here.
interesting if somebody who lived here was afraid of water. Maybe that might be an interesting challenge for them to learn from their family and their ancestors, that it could be a safe place.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Mr. Bryan, is there another sort of creative idea that you can think of for a story that's set in this location?
I would say, what if you have a character whose family has lived there their entire lives, but the water just keeps rising and they have to figure out what to do?
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, definitely, because, you know, the stories that we write can be totally based in fantasy, or they can be based in some things that are really going on, like climate change, which is absolutely, unfortunately, right now causing sea level rise in some of these island nations, which is a really big problem when you are a nation surrounded by water. So thank you for bringing that up, Mr. Bryan. Okay, so for my teacher friends, is there another maybe kind of different location that we want to check out on the map and think about how that could inspire our storytelling?
Yes, Miss our beautiful map person, if we could maybe go to Mexico, maybe go to Monterrey, Mexico, which is where your teacher was born. And I haven't seen it in years and years and years. Let's see what it looks like. Ooh.
Oh, we're going to Miss Melissa's birthplace. We love it.
My birthplace.
Wow.
A big rumbling city with a big mountain in the background. I definitely see some kiddos getting into adventures there.
So this looks very different from where we just were. This looks like a more urban area. I know we saw museums. Were there any, what is the weather like there, Miss Melissa?
The weather is very dry. It's pretty hot. Yes, and there's huge mountains right by the city that you can go climbing in. Lots of trees. Lots of little critters running around.
You know, this starts to spark my imagination. I'm thinking about what if we had a play where the mountain really wants to go visit the city because they see all these, you know, beautiful, bustling things happening there. It seems really exciting. There's museums, but, you know, people are coming to visit the mountain who've been to the city, and the mountain starts to be like, wait, they always leave me. I wish I could follow them. And maybe the mountain's trying to figure out how the mountain can go visit the city. I would be interested in seeing where that play went.
I love it. The mountain has FOMO. I get it.
That's fear of missing out, kids. Fear of missing out.
Yes, sorry.
Beautiful. Is there any other idea from our teacher friends that just sparks for you seeing these different photos of this location?
I'm just enjoying the view right now. I'm sorry.
Right. Beautiful.
Maybe because there's a lot of dogs that are like neighborhood dogs and that like live out on the streets, and everyone in the neighborhood is like, oh, that's our dog, blah blah blah, he's everyone's dog. So I could definitely see a story that takes place where the main characters are animals. Oh, like what we're seeing right now. There's a lot of, even though it's a big city, there's actually a lot of animals that just kind of hang out there. So I could definitely see like a story centering around animals, like what their life is like in the big city and hanging out and where they go. That would be interesting for me.
I love it. And you know, this because it's set in Mexico, you know, where the dominant language is not English like here, you know, maybe if someone was writing in English, wanted to set a play here, maybe they would make it a bilingual production that was English or Spanish. Maybe it would all be in Spanish, but even English speakers would still be able to listen and follow along because of how it was directed and staged. And that could be beautiful too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's think of maybe one more place to look. Just as a way, again, to get us inspired about how different locations can really lend themselves to different kinds of stories. We have one more idea of where we want to go?
Just because of the sun in the photos made me think of Helsinki.
Okay, we're going to Helsinki, y'all. Buckle up.
And yes, kids, you just saw the map lady not know where Helsinki was. It's okay. It's okay to use that search feature sometimes.
Definitely, right? Helsinki is in Finland. That's up in the north of Europe. And actually, you know, Magic Map Lady, could you zoom out a little bit? Oh, that is an exciting picture of Helsinki, but just so we get more of a sense of where in the world it is. Yep, zoom out. Yeah, so yeah, up there in Finland, in Europe, and it's on the water. It's right near the water there.
And if we want to, since I didn't get to give it to you properly, here's how you get there from Monterrey. So we were over here, now that I kind of know where we're going, we were over here in Mexico, Monterrey. And then, so now we're going to zoom out. Should we go west or east? I took us west that time. Should I go east this time?
Sure, why not?
So we're going to go eastward. And this is the Atlantic Ocean, Greenland, Iceland, and this is where we're going to Helsinki. So here we are.
Cool.
All right, you know, yeah, when I was probably the age of some of our learners, we had an actual globe in my house and I would love to turn it and yeah, look at, countries and places that I'd never been, that I didn't know much about. And, now with some technology, we can even just do it on our computers. So yeah, let's check out Helsinki. Okay, so it's on the Gulf of Finland, right on the water there. So that already makes me think about, yeah, maybe encounters between people, beings that live on the land and beings that live on the water. What if there was a fish that was in love with a bird? And, maybe what are the times when they get to see each other and talk to each other, and how difficult that must be to try to have a relationship or even just a friendship when you live in two different kind of places like that. Okay, we're seeing this urban area. It's interesting architecture here.
Let's see, where should we look in here?
Ooh. We're seeing the streets. So yeah, definitely an urban area here.
There's
For
lots
sure.
of museums here, which I think is
Yeah.
very neat.
Art
Lots of
galleries.
museums.
Ooh.
Wow.
Mr. Bryan, what do you think is the most interesting part of Helsinki?
What's interesting to me about Helsinki is besides the architecture is just really like pretty to me. But the sun sets at around 10:30 every day.
So that could be something that sounds like a story in the making. Could you build a story around that, Mr. Bryan? What do you think?
Sure. Maybe we have someone that let's see here. We have a vampire named Frank who can only go out at night, and he's a transplant to Helsinki, and he has to adjust to life with limited night darkness. There we
Lots
go,
of
on the spot.
sleeping. I love it.
Yeah, that just really has my imagination going for sure. Or what if, they're trying to cast a spell, but it only works at,
With the
at, like,
moonlight.
the moment when, oh, what are you saying?
With the moonlight. It needs the moonlight.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
And so, maybe there's something there just about the uniqueness of this place, and how even, the light, I know, yes, the last lesson y'all were talking about when, and so even, during the day, sunrise, the afternoon, the evening, a place with such a short night period could be, is going to lend itself to some different stories than a place that's got a different kind of climate and a different kind of relationship to the light.
Right.
All right. Let's take maybe a couple more looks here, and then maybe let's go on back home. And also say for our friends at home, again, this is, if you go to like maps.google.com, this is something that you can play with on your own, thinking about places where you might want to set your stories, and you can see different pictures, kind of look at what the geography is all around it, and see if that inspires anything in you. So we're going on back home, back to Quinn Street projects. Back to California.
You can see
Although
all of
we
the
could
things.
be having folks watch this who aren't in California, but that's where our project is based. Oh, there's the Bay Area. Oh, here we go.
There we are. The purple building.
You know, there's another theater classic that says there's no place like home. So thank you, Magic Map Lady. Y'all, I think it's time for us to revisit our story and add to it, enriching it with even more details about the location. So Mr. Bryan, could you pull up that story that Miss Melissa and I were writing with the young ones a couple lessons ago?
Sure can. Said with complete confidence. There we go.
All right, and so let's review again. So we're going to think about what we learned last week about when and how that can enrich our playwriting, and then also thinking more about the where. So do you mind scrolling up just a bit, Mr. Bryan, so we can get reacquainted? Right, we're writing our at rise. Beautiful. Okay, so we've got at rise. We see Bonnie and Florella Jibbidiff, or Flo. We decided the relationship that they're beings who recently met, and it is now. We can fill in the time. And I'm curious, Miss Melissa, from your adventures with Mr. Bryan last lesson, do you have an instinct about the time when you want to set our story, our play?
So last time, Mr. Bryan, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we went into the past, correct?
I'm going to agree with that instinct and say yes.
Great.
Yes.
So then I would love to either stay in the present or go into the future. What do you have like an inkling to which one it would be more fun, Miss Tierra?
I'm feeling the present right now.
Okay,
actually.
great. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's stay here.
And so right now where we're writing this, it's springtime and it's kind of morning. So maybe it's a spring morning.
Right. And the kids have just gotten out of school. So maybe it's like that energy, which is always a little chaotic.
Maybe it's a spring morning at the end of the school year.
I love it.
Perfect. And we know that y'all, right? Like if we just had a handout and we were writing all over it, we wouldn't have to play games with the word, but we know that our young artists are patient with us as we kind of fill everything in.
Of course. Thank you.
Beautiful. So we filled in our time, our when. So, okay, we've got at Rise, we see Bonnie and Florella Jibbidiff, or Flo. They are beings who recently met. It's a spring morning at the end of the school year in place. And so we had kind of discussed place on a little bit in an earlier lesson. We decided they were in a forest. And so maybe now thinking about how getting specific about the geography can really allow us to just in some ways unlock our imagination and also kind of key into some details of what exactly the characters might be experiencing, and that helps us tell the story. What we can probably get a little more detailed than in just a forest.
Right.
Miss Melissa, do you have any instincts about what kind of forest or where in the world? You know, I don't know. Is it a rainforest? Is it like a forest of evergreens? What do you think?
Well, I know that right now in Australia, there's a lot of Indigenous folk who are trying to save the rainforest in Australia. So that is something that comes to my mind immediately, because they're trying to use the forest for all sorts of things, when really the best thing that it does is help the environment and help us breathe air, but they're trying to use it for all sorts of other things instead, specifically making room for homes and making homes for more people.
Okay, so let's go with that. Let's say, so we're set, it's a spring morning at the end of the school year in a rainforest in Australia. I love that. And something I'll go ahead and say is, even, some folks at home might know this, but even the way we think about seasons, that's specific to geography. So I when I was in college, I got to do a semester abroad. That means overseas, where I was studying in Ghana. It's in West Africa, Accra, Ghana. And there, they don't describe the seasons the way that we do in the United States: summer, spring, winter, fall. They have dry season and they have rainy season. So we've got enough to go on for our story, but it just makes me think about, if we were gonna keep working on this, we could do some research, like put our little fingers to the test on the internet, or maybe go to a library and ask the librarian about, hey, I want to learn about the seasons in Australia and the rainforest. And that would be if we wanted to get our story really realistic and specific. For today, though, I think we've got enough. Okay, so we've got Bonnie and Florella Gibidiv. They're beings who recently met. It's a spring morning at the end of the school year in a rainforest in Australia. They're climbing a very big old tree so that it won't be cut down by loggers.
Mhm.
I am just thinking about when we create really specific at rises like this, before we get to the dialogue, it just really sets us up to have a really rich world that we can fill in. And so here, I think, Mr. Bryan, thank you so much. We can probably take this screen on down.
Toodaloo.
Thank you. I think this is where y'all at home, okay, you've played along with us. We've talked a lot about geography, how that can affect places. We filled that in with our example story. And now here is where you can either keep going with the at-rise that you've already been writing, or if you want to, you can start a totally different one and really key in on place. Think about the specifics of that place. You could even do a little research. You go on Google Maps or something else, look at a globe to get more an idea about that. Because again, that's going to help you create a world that's really rich, really fun, really specific for your characters to play in and for some action to happen.
Right. And I know that sometimes it's hard to think of what are they going to say to each other, right? What is the dialogue going to be? But if you get really specific about where they are and what they're doing, then the dialogue, it's much easier to think about things to talk about, right? When you know exactly what you're doing and exactly where you are, you can always just talk about that, right? That's what you can have the characters discussing. So that it makes it easier. Your job as a writer makes it easier.
And Magical Map Lady has something to add in the in the map realm.
Who
If
is
anyone, it's Magical Map Lady, Mr. Bryan. You know me.
It's not just in my head. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I just wanted to share that if you are watching this video, if you ever do find yourself at the Quinn Street Project in Pinole and you're taking one of our classes or our summer camps, or you're participating in one of our events, you might meet someone named Miss Anna who looks and sounds a lot like Magical Map Lady. And Miss Anna has a globe up in her office. So if you ever want to see that globe, you can see. It's the funny thing about globes is that there are a lot of, sometimes places change names over the years because of because of colonization and because of different reasons, or sometimes opposite, sometimes because of liberation, they change names. So sometimes there's older names on the globe, which is really interesting. But yeah, Magical Map Lady out.
Thank you, Magical Map Lady. All right, friends. Well, before we go, I want us to one more time take a deep breath in together. Good. And one more time, show me those thumbs up and bring them over for thumbs down. Cross one over the other. Give yourselves a high five and bring that in. Deep breath in, soften your gaze or close your eyes, and go ahead and give yourselves a hug or a pat on the back. And let's check out with feeling thumbs up, thumbs middle, or thumbs down. And show me where you're at. Good job. And then hands on your heart, one more deep breath together. All right, that's it. We will see you next week. Thanks so much.